we're taking 60 Day Startup to, because 60 Day Startup...
Disneyland? Are we going to Disneyland?
Yeah!
We're setting out to start a business from scratch and bring it to profit within 60 days. The risks are real, failure is an option, and even we don't know what's going to happen next. This is 60 Day Startup.
Welcome, everyone, to the final episode of Season 1 of 60 Day Startup.
Man, it has been crazy.
It's been a lot of work, but I think it's really rewarding to see what we've gotten to at the end of this and where we started. It is day 1 of 60 Day Startup. Wish us luck.
Yeah, it's crazy when you think about the fact that when we first started this, we didn't even know what we were going to do.
No, we had no idea what the business was going to be, who the audience was going to be, what we wanted to call this, nothing.
Yeah. You and I have been involved in enough businesses now that I think we both know that the beginning of every good business is a problem to solve.
Sure, absolutely.
You know, we settled on an idea, but we didn't even have a name yet.
Yeah, so we had to figure out what possible names can fit that idea.
Yeah. Me-journ.me. You-journ.me.
Book. That book. Me-memo. What? Is that me memo? Me memo. And then we did something that we usually do in a lot of our businesses and to help out a lot of our clients. We said, let's test all of them. Let's throw them out into the public and see what comes back through an ad campaign, right? We started an ad campaign last week.
I figured we'd measure two things. One being the click-through rate, which is kind of roughly sort of measuring how interesting the name is or compelling the name is. And then I also wanted to measure the opt-in rate. We have the link taking them to a page where we talk about the idea behind the journal and they can fill out their email if they want to know more. And we can't forget that when you're starting a business, you can't just say, hey, this sounds good and this name sounds cool, let's roll with it. And so we sat down and we took our idea for our business and we ran it through that offer bridge to see, hey, is this going to be a good business? Is there an audience that wants it? Is there some kind of problem that we're solving or a desire that we're going to achieve?
Right, or even is there a unique way that our solution is going to be differentiated from the competition?
We got all that together. The audience delivered us a fantastic name.
Yeah, so we had this name, OneBook, but beyond just a name and the idea, we were at square one.
Right.
We had never created a physical product business before, and we had to figure out what we were going to do. So something tells me this sounds like a physical product, if I'm not incorrect.
Yeah, so it's going to be a physical product, which you know means that we're going to have to design and manufacture it and actually ship it to people.
Which is great because we have absolutely zero experience with physical products.
Right.
As you would, expect, you try to take meetings with friends. You try to ask around and figure out who can maybe help create the thing that you're trying to create. Try to get a lot of advice. And then in the end, we ended up just calling a lot of people ourselves.
Yeah. Okay, so a lot of these guys have been asking me for a tech pack. And of course I responded by saying, yeah, we've got a tech pack. My team's working on it right now. So I guess I got to Google what a tech pack is. Yeah, it's funny, whenever you get advice as a business owner, you have to really take everything and sort of assimilate it into your own experience too.
Yeah.
Because every industry that exists that you're trying to break into has its way of doing things, right? And if you're going to be differentiated, there's a pretty good chance that you might have to come in and do things a little bit differently.
Yeah, and it'll probably benefit you in the long run if you do that.
Yep.
We like to come in almost with little to no knowledge of what has happened in a current market, to apply what we do know about marketing to that market.
For sure.
No preconceived notions about what you can and can't do. Just go in and say, well, what's not being done well? Let's try to fix that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we took a lot of that information, and we also took a lot of time to figure out who we're going to be trying to sell this to, right? So we dug into some of our research that we found from our name testing campaign, and some of our research that we found out from our offer bridge, and dug into some other tools that we have at our disposal as well.
Who is going to want to buy this, right? What's the buyer persona? The idea is to humanize the buyer, humanize the person whose problem you're trying to solve.
Right, and you want to be able to communicate to them in a way that they understand. Like, if you, through research, find out that your audience is going to be 55 plus, you don't want to start all of your messaging with, yo, 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 check this out. It's just not going to connect, you know?
Right, you don't need to say that your product is fire.
Yeah, right.
If you're going for the 65 and up.
Yeah. Maybe lower on the emoji scale.
I might be wrong. Come on, there's some hip grandmas on Facebook. My grandma's on Facebook. Hi, grandma.
Hashtag hip grandmas. And we found a lot of cool things about who we're going to be selling this to that not only informs the kind of messaging that we should have on the marketing side of things, but also informs the actual kind of product we should build.
And then we started diving into making the actual product.
Yeah.
And man, did we underestimate how much time goes into that.
Yeah, it's crazy. And talk about a whole new situation for us that we did not know about before, right?
Yeah. Coming from guys who have in the past made a lot of digital products and digital services, you know, we understand that there's time and effort that you have to put into a product to make it good. But with a digital product, you can kind of build it on the run.
Yeah.
You can kind of go with it as you're getting customers and kind of listen to their feedback to improve the product. With a physical product that's being sourced somewhere and then needs shipped, not the case.
So eventually we settled on something. After talking to numerous manufacturers and me trying to make them believe that I had sort of an idea of what I was talking about, which was not really the case.
Yeah. So we came up with this awesome leather-bound book, or leather-bound binder idea that was going to contain all of these inserts that were going to be one book that you could customize on your own.
And I was really excited about the idea. And not only because it smelled like a fancy, like... Leather boot. Oh yeah, that smells like a nice, expensive boot.
As we had that prototype in hand.
Yeah, and we got a couple of them, right?
Yeah, we got a good number of them, and we were super excited because we were like halfway through, have this prototype in hand, we got plenty of time to do this and turn it around. And we started taking that prototype around to friends and family and wives and everybody in the office.
Yep.
And we found a lot of different opinions about this.
And I definitely do not like the gap between here and the leather itself.
How much space is between here? It's very...
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You can fit your arms through there.
I can fit my arms through.
It's like a large leather bracelet.
Yes.
If you can see in this one, it's got the same issue happening there. In fact, I just made a mark on it, my thumb again.
You ruined it.
Not to say, I think there's a good sort of middle-of-the-road litmus test there where you don't want to always ask everyone's opinion of the product, because if they're not in the demographic of people who might use this, sure, their opinion's great, but you know, it's not going to really affect your audience. But if you start hearing from your audience, the potential customers, that there's something intrinsically different or wrong about the way you're making the product, listen.
Yeah.
And listen quickly.
Right, so all of that information led us up to what we ended up calling the Great Pivot.
The Great Pivot. A pivot with a startup means that you now have new information that is clarifying your potential offer, your potential audience, that happens pretty much in the middle of building towards one direction, and you decide, hey, this was the thing, but now we're going to pivot over here.
Right.
We realized that something like this was way easier to write on in lap. It was kind of nice and bound. It would lay flat, that kind of deal.
Gotcha.
The hard part here was, how do we customize something like this to go with the philosophy of OneBooks?
Honestly, we didn't really have time to make much of a pivot. It would have been very foolish of us to ignore all of that data that we were getting from our user feedback, from everyone, and so we decided to take that information and improve the product.
So we went from sort of a leather binder journal with pages that you could swap in and out, and went full throttle into making a bound book.
Right.
You know, literally one book, hey, we should have listened to the name. It's interesting because I feel like we didn't intend to begin with, but we simplified some things on our end by doing that.
Oh yeah, we did.
We had, we had originally been looking at 2 different manufacturers because we had to create the pages, the inserts, and all of that were going to go inside the book. And then we had to create the binder, the journal, that kind of part of it, and then somehow piece those 2 together.
For sure.
But with a book product, we were literally going with 1 manufacturer.
Yeah.
Now, the only downside was you had to go find manufacturers again.
Right, yeah, so I had to start a little bit over at square one. I gotta say, it was a little bit of a frustrating week for me because I had to have these introductory conversations with a whole new batch of manufacturers, with a whole new batch of terminology, and trying to actually get them to believe that I'm not just someone who's yanking their chain, even though what actually happened to the last batch of manufacturers that I completely yanked their chain. I mean, but the good news is that this time I kind of knew what I was talking about more, and it was a little bit faster of a process.
Yeah. Meanwhile, while Paul was digging in, figuring out the whole manufacturing process, I was trying to make sure that we were still going full throttle on building out a funnel.
Yep.
Getting all of our advertising in line and trying to just get some excitement for this product so that we weren't going to fall behind schedule.
Oh yeah.
While we were getting this other type of product manufactured.
For sure.
Yeah.
And for us, the funnel and the advertising was a huge part of it because when you think about it, in 60 days, you basically don't have any organic audience. I mean, who can know about you?
Oh yeah. So we started running a pretty decent ad campaign to get just some interest, some names, some excitement, and get a good idea of what types of ads and what types of words were working well for our audience. Shortly after that, we launched the pre-sale.
All right, everybody, we are live today to announce the official launch.
Official pre-sale launch.
Of OneBook.me.
That's right.
OneBook pre-sale is live today.
A pre-sale is a great way to excite early adopters and to figure out the best way to fulfill their need and the best marketing message you can put to fulfill their need.
Yeah, and whether you're gonna roll your own like we did or to use something like Kickstarter or GoFundMe, it's a really good way to give yourself a little bit of runway and gauge interest before you place an order for thousands of books.
We started this pre-sale, we had it running, we had book manufacturing happening over here, and something else big happened in the midst of that pre-sale.
That's right. So we had built this really cool interface online where people could come and customize their OneBooks.
Right.
They could choose whether it had a morning devotional or not. They could put a daily agenda in there, lined paper, dot paper, an evening devotional, and basically at the end of the day, you had all these different sort of variations of OneBook that someone could make their own.
Right. Large possibilities of custom journals that you could have just for yourself.
But it was funny, so we had all these people coming into this customizer and choosing their best result, and something really kind of interesting happened.
Yeah. So even with us trying to help point people different directions to show them how they can customize things, and I mean literally, we're running support comments in the comments of this Facebook ad that we're running. What we found is as people ran through this customizer, probably 70 to 80% of people always ended up with one customization, and 80 to 90% of our sales was one single version of OneBook.
And not only that, but the majority of the people that went through the customizer seemed like they became overwhelmed with the amount of choice, and we saw a whole bunch of cart abandonment.
Yeah.
That has to do with something that we talked about called the choice paradox. Now, if you haven't heard about this before, it's this idea that giving people more options actually results in a worse buying experience. Typically people think, hey, more choices is better, I want as many options as possible. But if you think about it, think about going to the grocery store to buy something like peanut butter. The choice is really easy. You either get creamy or you get crunchy. And you know who you are if you're a creamy person or a crunchy person. The choice is super easy.
But when you're shopping for pasta sauce, that's where the choice paradox really hits in, because you have all of this to choose from. Now, if you're like me, this is utter chaos, right? Fresh mushroom, Italian sausage and garlic, traditional. What does traditional even mean?
We wanted to test it from a sales perspective. and see, okay, which one actually better serves more people in the market. So for a week, we actually duplicated that funnel and ran one set of advertising, one set of messaging, and one funnel to a segment of the exact same audience, and then kept our other one up on this other side, running with the same audience again. And what came out was pretty ridiculous. Literally 2 to 3 times more conversion to both email and sale on the singular book funnel than we had on the funnel that allowed you to choose all of your different options.
And I think one of the biggest reasons here is not only was that process of not having to choose so many options so much smoother from first product review to checkout, but not only that, we were able to take the position of selling the actual product. Why is this product so great instead of selling the choice?
It's tough sometimes when what's necessary for the business kind of needs to change what your business idea was to begin with.
Right.
And I think it's important to, as we're kind of moving to the end of at least this section, to realize that it's okay to do that and that the business itself can grow only if you allow it.
So all of that together brings us pretty much to today.
We've got our funnel still running.
That's right.
We've been tweaking, updating, making new changes to our ad campaign to just see what gets us the best traffic. We've been reaching out to some affiliates to get even new traffic into the funnel.
Which has been so cool.
It's been
really cool to be in touch with some of those tastemakers who are on our side.
Yeah.
And having them reach out to their audiences and say, hey, check out this thing called OneBook. It would be great for you. And to see that traffic come in and have those people decide that this is a great solution for this problem in my life.
We did go from square one, really square zero.
Yeah.
From the very beginning, without an idea. Here we are today, basically with a funnel that if we can continue running at this level of conversion, will generate a 6-figure revenue stream for the year.
And we are on the very verge of shipping these out to customers, which I'm so excited to start getting some of that actual organic reaction, word of mouth. I think
actually get reviews of OneBook.
Yeah, reviews. I mean, it's going to be huge.
Yeah.
So when you think about the fact that we started with nothing, and then in this short amount of time, we've come all the way to essentially created what will likely be a 6-figure revenue stream for us this year.
Sure.
That's pretty insane.
And what I think is super exciting about it is we're not geniuses. I think that more and more people can do this themselves at home, in their free time at home.
Absolutely.
When they're not working whatever their regular day job is.
Yeah, and all the tools that we use to do everything that we did are totally accessible to everyone.
And all of the knowledge that we had to learn to be able to accomplish the pieces we didn't know is freely available a Google search away on the internet.
Oh yeah.
For those of you who have no knowledge about shipping and physical product, we didn't either.
Nope.
What's next for 60-Day Startup?
So I guess my big question, everyone, is if you're sitting in a day job right now that you aren't particularly inspired by, or if you are sitting at home and wanting to make an extra contribution to your family, I mean, if you're in school and you're thinking, what the heck am I gonna do when I get this tassel on my hat? It's there's a million big questions for you. My question is, what is it that you want to create that doesn't exist right now?
To this point, 60-Day Startup has really just been about you and I building a business and kind of helping other people see how we're doing it.
Yeah.
Now we want to take 60-Day Startup and make it about you. We want to see what you're excited about, what dreams you might have that could turn into things that could then change the world, right? And we want to help you along the way. We're still working out exactly what that's going to look like, but I can tell you what, it's going to be a roller coaster.
That's right. We have some really cool stuff planned, but it all revolves around helping get as many of your businesses off the ground as possible. And I think that's how we're going to really make a big difference in the world with this thing. So thank you guys so much for coming along on this crazy ride. That wraps up this season of 60-Day Startup.
So make sure you go order your OneBook, and we'll see you next time on 60-Day Startup.